Improve your English through reading. Right now you are reading English. That means that you are using your brain in a very active way. Reading is a very active process. It is true that the writer does a lot of work, but the reader also has to work hard. When you read a text, you have to do some or all of these. Imagine a scene in your head. Understand clearly what the writer is trying to say. When you learn a language, listening, speaking, and writing are important, but reading can also be very helpful. There are many advantages associated with reading, including learning vocabulary in context. You will usually encounter new words when you read. If there are too many new words for you, then the level is too high and you should read something simpler. But if there are, say, a maximum of 5 new words per page, you will learn this vocabulary easily. You may not even need to use a dictionary because you can guess the meaning from the rest of the text from the context. Not only do you learn new words, but you see them being used naturally. A model for writing. When you read, it gives you a good example for writing. Texts that you read show you structures and expressions that you can use when you write. Seeing correctly structured English. When people write, they usually use correct English with a proper grammatical structure. This is not always true when people speak. So, by reading you see and learn grammatical English naturally. Working at your own speed. You can read as fast or as slowly as you like. You can read 10 pages in 30 minutes, or take 1 hour to explore just 1 page. It doesn't matter. The choice is yours. You cannot easily do this when speaking or listening. This is one of the big advantages of reading because different people work at different speeds. Personal interest. If you choose something to read that you like, it can actually be interesting and enjoyable. For example, if you like to read about football in your own language, why not read about football in English? You will get information about football and improve your English at the same time. 5 tips for reading. Tip 1. Try to read at the right level. Read something that you can more or less understand. If you need to stop every 3 words to look in a dictionary, it is not interesting for you and you will soon be discouraged. Tip 2. Make a note of new vocabulary. If there are 4 or 5 new words on a page, write them in your vocabulary book. But you don't have to write them while you read. Instead, try to guess their meaning as you read. Mark them with a pen. Then come back when you have finished reading to check in a dictionary and add them to your vocabulary book. Tip 3. Try to read regularly. For example, read for a short time once a day. 15 minutes every day is better than 2 hours every Sunday. Fix a time to read and keep to it. For example, you could read for 15 minutes when you go to bed, or when you get up, or at lunchtime. Tip 4. Be organized. Have everything ready. Something to read, a marker to highlight difficult words, a dictionary, your vocabulary book, a pen to write down the new words. Tip 5. Read what interests you. Choose a magazine or book about a subject that you like. Things to read. Newspapers. You can find English-language newspapers in all large cities around the world. Newspapers are interesting because they are about real life and the news. But they are not easy to read. Try reading newspapers if your level is intermediate or above. Some British newspapers. The Telegraph, The Times, The Independent, The Guardian, The Financial Times Business, The Sunday Times. Some American newspapers. The International Herald Tribune, The New York Times, The Wall Street Journal Business. Magazines. Some magazines are published weekly, some monthly. You can find English-language magazines in many large cities around the world. If you cannot find the magazine you want in your town, you may be able to order it for delivery. Many magazines have pictures which can help your understanding. You will need an intermediate level for most magazines, but a pre-intermediate level may be okay for some magazines. There are magazines on every subject: politics, sport, the house, cars, music, romance, travel, language, etc. Books. Books are divided mainly into nonfiction, history, biography, travel, cooking, etc. Fiction, stories and novels. Some books are easier to read than others. It often depends on the author. Agatha Christie, for example, wrote in an easier style and with simpler vocabulary than Stephen King. You can buy books in specialized English language bookshops in large cities around the world. You may also be able to find some English language books in libraries. And if you have a British council in your city, you can borrow many English language books from their library. Short stories. Short stories can be a good choice when learning a language because they are short. It's like reading a whole book in a few pages. You have all the excitement of a story in a book, but you only have to read 5,000 or 10,000 words. So you can quite quickly finish the story and feel that you have achieved something. Short stories are published in magazines, in books of short stories, and on the internet. You can also find short stories at English Club English Reading. Readers. Readers are books that are specially published to be easy to read. They are short and with simple vocabulary. They are usually available at different levels, so you should be able to find the right level for you. Many readers are stories by famous authors in simple form. This is an excellent way for you to start practicing reading. Cornflakes packets. By cornflakes packets, we mean any product you can buy that has English writing on or with it. If you buy a box of chocolates or a new camera, why not read the description or instructions in English? There are many such examples, and they all give you an opportunity to read real English. Like airline tickets, cans or packets of food, bottles of drink, tapes and CDs, user guides for videos, computers, etc. Poetry. If you like poetry, try reading some English language poems. They may not be easy to understand because of the style and vocabulary, but if you work at it you can usually get an idea or a feeling of what the poet is trying to say. Good luck with your reading. It will help you make a lot of progress.
If you want to get better at English listening, you have to listen to English. The best way to improve your English listening is to mix different methods. Spend time with English speakers, listen carefully and repeat what you hear, and do exercises like repeating sentences, writing down what you hear, and using good materials. In this video, we're going to show you how to improve your English listening skills quickly using these following tips. Start with a positive mindset. I know English listening can be very difficult, especially with speakers who have a strong accent or who talk really fast. But you've actually done it before. You learned how to listen, understand, and speak a language when you were a baby. Why should it be any different now that you're an adult? When people are talking, don't focus on what you're going to reply. Don't try to translate what they're saying. Don't analyze the grammar structure of the sentences. Just listen. Study a little bit at a time. Only have a few minutes per day to study? Perfect. There are a lot of scientific studies that prove that learning for 15 to 30 minutes every day is much better than trying to memorize hundreds of new words and grammar rules in one day. This is called microlearning. Simply speaking, microlearning is dividing your task into very small tasks that can be done in about 5 minutes. For example, if you're trying to listen to a podcast, you can break it up and focus on 1 minute at a time, taking the time to learn the vocabulary and understand what's being said. This is just an example. You can divide your task the way you want, always trying to remember that every individual task should last 5 minutes at most. Try different types of content. There are so many different formats for studying. Find the one that works for you, or switch between content types depending on the situation. For instance, you can listen to podcasts, audiobooks, and radio shows while you're on the go. When you have time to sit and do more active studying, you can turn on a YouTube channel or read along with your audiobook. There are benefits for studying with each type of content. Podcasts. You can hear natural conversational English on many podcasts, especially when they don't have a script. This can help you understand people's speaking habits and hear the way real native English speakers have conversations, add pauses to their speech, etc. Radio. The radio has a huge variety of listening practice. You can listen to music, talk shows, and news broadcasts, just to name a few. Radio is great for passive listening, listening in the background as you do other things. You can choose different radio shows and focus on listening to different dialects and accents from English speakers around the world. Audiobooks. An audiobook is basically a recording of someone reading a book. Audiobooks can be a great source of vocabulary since they use a wider range of words than common speech. You can also get a physical or digital copy of the book and read along as you listen. Doing so, you'll find it easy to concentrate solely on the words. You can practice pronunciation by reading out loud and trying to match what you just heard. YouTube. There's truly no end to what you can watch on YouTube. Many YouTube videos have captions available. Though these aren't always accurate, they can help support your listening until you feel more comfortable with just using your ears. Sing along to English songs. Learning English by listening to songs is a fun and effective way to improve your listening skills. You can write out the lyrics, sing along, or you can even skip the lyrics and see how much you know by heart. Turn on English music as you do other things, and sing along as you wash dishes or drive to work, for instance. For a challenge, try listening and singing along to rap songs. The speed and rhythm of these songs can make them difficult to shadow, which makes them perfect for active listening practice. Listen to the same content every day for a week. Find a bit of content that you enjoy, like a podcast or a YouTube channel. Choose just one brief episode or video to listen to every day for a week. Pick out words or phrases that are difficult to understand and look them up on the first and second days. Don't forget to hit pause and listen again. After a couple of days, you should be able to listen for these words and understand them. Try speaking along with your audio source. You can even record yourself and listen for the differences between yourself and the speaker. By the last day, you'll find that you can understand much more than on the first day. As your ear adjusts to hearing this English podcast episode, it'll be easier to listen to new audio in English. Listen to English conversations. If you're living somewhere English is spoken, take an afternoon to hunt for an English conversation. You can search for English conversation on a bus, in a cafe, or at a park. Or, if listening to conversations of strangers makes you uncomfortable, you can watch casual videos of people on the street on YouTube instead. At first, you probably won't know what they're talking about since you'll probably start listening in the middle of the conversation. This will make it even more challenging to understand, but also more fun. Try and pick out words that you've learned or are trying to learn. How much can you understand? Could you write a summary of the conversation? Take note of how people pronounce things when they have different emotions. Something that's said in anger and something that's said in passing, quickly, casually, can sound very different. Take advantage of white noise. White noise is an ongoing, usually repetitive sound that goes on in the background while you do something else. We're practicing passive listening when we use English white noise. Play a podcast, an audiobook, or an English series in the background while you clean your flat or iron your clothes, or do any other chore. Don't pay special attention to it. Just let it play and go on with your activities. You might think that you're not learning anything if you're not paying attention. But the truth is that your brain is registering everything that's happening in the background. This practice is also useful for familiarizing yourself with the sounds and rhythm of the English language. Don't stress out about missing some information or not understanding something. That's not the purpose of this exercise. Listen intensively. Find a quiet place and set aside 15 minutes free of disruptions. Play an audio file and focus on catching the words as well as their use and the overall meaning of the audio. Take notes about everything you find important, such as when a speaker raises her voice to imply her anger, or when you think a speaker is being sarcastic, means the opposite of what they say. Are there any words you don't understand completely or are unsure how to spell? Write them down as well so you can check later. Listen to the speed too. Are there any places where the speaker pauses, slows down, or speeds up? What do you think these moments mean? This exercise focuses on taking your listening skills to the next level. It trains your ability to focus your attention on the words being spoken and is beneficial whether you're entering an English-speaking university, workplace, or just an everyday conversation. Listen for the big ideas. At first, you should resist the impulse to try to understand every single word people are saying. It's more important to keep up with the conversation and try to understand the main ideas. Listen out for certain words that give you a hint of the sequence or topic of conversation. For example, when you saw the words "for example" in this sentence, you knew that an example was coming up. Or if your friend is talking about a new movie that they watched, you can listen out for positive and negative words to understand if they like the movie great, exciting, or not bad, boring. Focus on keywords like these to grasp the most relevant parts of a conversation. Once you relax and make it a priority to understand the main idea, you'll have the freedom to complete your comprehension with the details and clear the air later by asking questions. Listen for the details. Once you feel comfortable figuring out the main ideas of different conversation topics, you can start to listen in for the details. For example, if you're interested in knowing the age of a person, pay attention to any words related to age like old, years, born in, or even a number, which could be that person's age. An excellent way to practice listening for details is to decide what kind of detailed information you want to practice listening for and then listen to radio shows where you would get this information. Let's say, for example, that you want to practice listening for details about the weather. You could listen to a weather report and focus on the names of cities and the temperatures in every one of them. You can also focus on other kinds of details, like word intonation or stress. Listen and read. Another way to improve your listening skills is to use two sources of information at the same time. The easiest way to do this is by watching an English video with English subtitles. This way, you'll be listening to and reading the words, which will make it easier to understand everything and will help you remember more. Many podcasts include a transcript of what the speaker's saying, So once again, you get to listen to and read the same information at the same time. You can also print the transcript before listening. That way, when you find something interesting, you can stop the audio and make notes on the printed transcript. And, as I mentioned earlier, you can listen to audiobooks while you read along with the written work. Listen and speak. Listen to a sentence over and over. Repeat the words immediately after the speaker says them. This is called shadowing. Keep practicing until your speed and intonation match those of the speaker. Shadowing an audio file is one of the best exercises to improve your listening and speaking skills at the same time. You'll not only polish your pronunciation, but also acquire the natural rhythm and speed of the English language. For an added challenge, turn off the audio and try to say the sentence on your own. Record yourself and see how similar your version is to the audio file. Listen and write. Writing what you hear forces you to decode individual sounds. Transcribing, writing what you hear, gives you a surprisingly fun way to improve your listening skills. Through writing, you can learn new words or discover that certain words are pronounced very differently than you thought. Some websites let you listen to short audio recordings and write down every word that you hear. Make sure to keep going back and playing each sentence again and again until you've transcribed the whole thing. Pay close attention to your spelling as well. One of the most challenging things about English writing is that the way something sounds is not always how it's written. Predict audio content. Imagine that you're listening to the radio. You hear a helicopter in the background and a speaker is mentioning the names of streets, roads, and avenues and talking about how many vehicles are currently on these roads. What do you think he's talking about? Most likely, you're listening to a traffic report. You can then expect to hear other words like bottleneck, traffic jam, and rush hour. You'll probably also hear the imperative, command form of verbs don't take the highway or avoid 4th Avenue. Next time you're watching or listening to an English TV show or the radio, pause after every few sentences. Try to predict what's going to happen or what the speaker might say next. Based on the context, you can often predict the words and even style of language you will hear. A powerful way to practice this is by creating mind maps. Whenever you learn new words, try to group them with other words used in a similar context. Experiment with different accents. You might have trouble understanding some English accents the first few times you listen to them. This is normal. Even native English speakers can have trouble understanding different English accents. Remember that practice makes perfect. If you think a specific English accent is more difficult to understand for you, all you have to do is keep practicing your listening skills with audio from that accent. For example, if American English is challenging for you, try watching American series, movies, the news, or listening to American podcasts for a month. Listen as you sleep. No, I haven't gone crazy. It's actually possible to practice your English while you sleep. While you can't actually learn new content, sleep learning has been shown to improve your memory of vocabulary that you've already started learning. If you want to give this a try, you'll find lots of posts, articles, and studies that talk about this topic. They normally focus on learning vocabulary, but you can use these resources to improve your listening skills as well. Listen to yourself. If you're having a conversation with yourself in front of the mirror or in your head, you're already listening to yourself. Use your own voice to improve your English listening skills. Talk to yourself in English when you go for a run, take a shower, or any other time when your mind isn't occupied by something else. You can even pretend to be two different people and play out a conversation in English in your head. You can even try using different accents. Another way to improve your listening through speaking is by mimicking English language shows. Watch an episode and try to imitate the accent in front of a mirror. Look at the actors' faces and listen to them say specific words and phrases as many times as you need until you have the correct pronunciation. Listen from mid-sentence. Fast forward to a random place in the audio and start listening in the middle of a sentence. Try to figure out the topic as quickly as possible. Can you also guess the emotion? Does it sound like a friendly chat or a heated discussion? The intonation and stress are your clues. This is the perfect exercise to prepare you for real-life conversations. In workplaces, schools, and other social settings, it can be easy to miss a part of a conversation due to noise from the environment. This exercise will prevent confusion and help you catch up even if you don't hear or don't understand something. Listen to the verbs. Listen to about a minute of an audio file and write down every verb you hear. Pause the audio and immediately try to rewrite all the sentences based on your list of verbs. Do this quickly while your memory is fresh. Listen again, this time pausing after each sentence. If your audio comes with subtitles, compare them to your sentences. How similar was your version to the actual one? This high-level listening practice with audio enhances your ability to catch vital information while listening. It's useful for attending classes in English-speaking countries or working in an English-speaking environment, since it helps you focus on the key points of each sentence. As you write, pay attention to the role of action verbs, such as to drink or to run, compared with linking verbs like to be. Writing out the sentences from memory is a great way to practice and will affect your choice of words when you speak and write yourself. Listen to the articles. Despite having no real meaning, articles are an essential part of the English language. With this exercise, you focus on recognizing unstressed sounds. Pick a video with subtitles or an audio file with a transcript. Listen to it once without looking at the written text, and once again with the text. Pay attention to the articles, a and the. As you listen the second time, circle or highlight every article. How many times is each article used? Which articles are used in which sentences? How is the meaning of the sentence affected by the type of article used? Use different audio speeds. This is as simple as it sounds. Pick a video on YouTube or any platform that allows you to change the speed of the audio video. The first time you watch, do it at normal speed. You'll probably miss information, but that happens to all of us. During your second listening, choose the 0.75 speed. This will play the video slower, and you'll be able to understand many more words or expressions than the first time. When you think you're ready for a challenge, do the opposite. Choose 1.25 or even 1.5 and watch the video at a faster speed. Don't go over 1.75. That's a challenge even for native speakers. Join a conversation group. One great way to practice listening to real people is to join a group of English learners who are looking to do the same. Conversation groups usually meet regularly, but it's not a class. You don't have to come every week. The purpose is simply to talk in English. Meeting with other learners is a great way to listen to English with a variety of accents and voices. If you're nervous about speaking English, remind yourself that you're going to listen, and this is totally okay. You can even tell the other speakers this if it makes you more comfortable. You could say something like, "Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm going to focus on listening tonight, so I might not say very much." Besides listening and speaking practice, joining a conversation group can be a fantastic way to make new friends who can help push you to keep learning. Prepare your conversations before they happen. Every conversation includes a speaker and a listener. This means that when you're having a conversation, you're also practicing your listening skills. This can be intimidating if you struggle to understand spoken English. The solution? Prepare for conversations before they happen. Of course, you can't always know how a certain conversation will go. But certain situations, like going to the doctor or buying groceries, often repeat vocabulary words, phrases, and sentences. Prepare for a conversation by figuring out what questions you might be asked or need to ask, and how you can respond. Pay special attention to key words you expect to hear and practice listening to them, so you know how to recognize them in conversation. You can record yourself saying them. Guess the meaning from the context first. When having an English conversation or listening to English audio, try to pick out key words that you know. You can use these to get a basic idea of what someone is trying to convey and figure out the meaning of an unfamiliar word. You can pay attention to the tone of voice. Is the speaker happy, confused, serious, or laughing? Body language and your surroundings. For example, if someone is trying to communicate with you and is pointing at a map while asking a question, there's a good chance that they need directions.
Hi, my name is Sophia, and I am a student in an English class. I have been studying English for a few years now, but this class is different. It's not just about learning the grammar rules and vocabulary, it's more about understanding the language and using it in real-life situations. We have a great teacher, Mrs. Johnson, who is very patient and always encourages us to ask questions. She makes the class fun and interactive by using games and activities to help us learn. I used to dread going to English class, but now I look forward to it every day. In the beginning, I was a bit nervous because I wasn't very confident in my English skills. I struggled with speaking in front of the class and I was afraid of making mistakes. But Mrs. Johnson created a comfortable and supportive environment where I could practice without feeling embarrassed. One of my favorite things about this class is that we get to read and discuss different types of literature. We have read classic novels, short stories, and even poems. Mrs. Johnson always encourages us to share our thoughts and opinions, which has helped me to develop my critical thinking skills. We also have writing assignments where we get to express our own ideas and creativity. At first, I found it challenging to come up with ideas and put them into words, but with Mrs. Johnson's guidance and feedback, I have improved a lot. I am now more confident in my writing and can express myself better in English. Another thing I love about this class is that we have students from different backgrounds and cultures. It's amazing to hear different perspectives and learn about different traditions and customs. We often have discussions about cultural differences and similarities, which has helped me to become more open-minded and understanding. The best part of my English class is that we get to practice speaking in English with each other. We have conversations, debates, and presentations on various topics. It has boosted my confidence and improved my speaking skills. I no longer feel shy or nervous when I have to speak in front of a group. One day, Mrs. Johnson surprised us with a special project. She asked us to write our own short stories and share them with the class. I was nervous at first, but Mrs. Johnson encouraged us to be creative and have fun with it. I decided to write a story about a magical adventure in a faraway land. I poured my heart into it, and when it was my turn to share, I felt excited rather than scared. The class listened intently, and afterwards, they clapped and told me how much they enjoyed it. It was a proud moment for me, and I realized how much I had grown in confidence since starting the class. As the weeks went by, our English class became like a little family. We supported each other, laughed together, and cheered each other on. Mrs. Johnson always made sure to celebrate our successes, whether it was mastering a tricky grammar rule or giving a great presentation. One day, Mrs. Johnson announced that our class would be putting on a play for the whole school. We were going to perform a classic English play, and everyone was assigned a role. I was thrilled to be cast as one of the lead characters, and we all worked hard to memorize our lines and rehearse our scenes. On the day of the performance, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. But as soon as we stepped onto the stage, all my fears melted away. I delivered my lines with confidence, and the audience cheered and applauded at the end. It was an unforgettable experience, and I knew that none of it would have been possible without Mrs. Johnson and my amazing classmates. As our English class continued, Mrs. Johnson introduced us to even more exciting activities. We had a book club where we could choose a book to read together and discuss. It was fun sharing our thoughts and opinions on the stories we read. One another day, Mrs. Johnson surprised us with a guest speaker who was a famous author. We were all amazed to hear about her journey as a writer and her inspirations behind her books. It made me realize that anyone could be a writer if they had a story to tell. Another memorable day was when Mrs. Johnson organized a field trip to a local museum. We explored exhibits about history and culture, and Mrs. Johnson encouraged us to practice our English by asking questions and reading information plaques. It was a fantastic way to learn and have fun at the same time. As the school year came to an end, I felt a mix of sadness and excitement. I would miss my English class and all the wonderful memories we made together. But I was also looking forward to using everything I had learned in the real world. On the last day of class, Mrs. Johnson gave each of us a certificate of achievement and a heartfelt goodbye. She told us how proud she was of our progress and reminded us to keep practicing English even after the class was over. As I walked out of the classroom, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the amazing experience I had in Mrs. Johnson's English class. It had truly changed my life and given me the confidence to pursue my dreams. I knew that no matter where life took me, I would always carry the lessons I learned and the memories I made in that special class. English class may have ended, but the memories and friendships we made will last a lifetime. And who knows? Maybe one day, we'll all meet again. Looking back, I realized that my journey in English class was about more than just learning a language. It was about discovering my voice, embracing new opportunities, and building connections with others.
7 simple ways to improve your speaking skills. Speaking English confidently is an important goal for many. Often, we hesitate because we are afraid of making mistakes or embarrassing ourselves in front of others. Sometimes, mistakes are unavoidable. But like any other skill, you can improve your spoken English if you practice regularly and follow these simple techniques. Listen. The first step in improving your speaking skills is actually working on your listening. Listening to English has several benefits. It allows you to pick up new words, phrases, and ways to respond in conversations. Secondly, listening provides opportunities to understand pronunciation, how some words are omitted when speaking, how some are joined together, the rhythm, the intonation, and the sounds of language. What should you listen to? There are many resources available to you to listen to for free. Start with short English clips or videos. Pick your favorite English TV show or YouTube channel. Listen to a clip and notice carefully what the characters are saying. Repeat any dialogues or phrases that interest you. Replay the same clip until you understand every word. You could also turn on the subtitles or look at the transcript of the video if available, and practice saying the dialogues with the characters. There are many easy conversations in English with transcripts. The practice activities that accompany these audios and videos will provide you plenty of opportunities to practice the new vocabulary and pronunciation. English podcasts are another popular way to listen to English and improve your listening and speaking skills. Podcasts are short audio clips that are available online on various topics. They are usually released regularly as episodes on a larger theme or range of topics. The third most interesting way to improve your listening and speaking is by listening to audiobooks. Audiobooks have become very popular over the past couple of years. They are great for people who have no time to invest in reading books. They are also a wonderful way to perfect your pronunciation. Here is a great selection of books for people who are learning English. Try to listen to a portion of the text, pause the audio, and read aloud to practice saying the words yourself. Finally, nothing can beat actual English conversations with people. Listen to your colleagues speaking in English. Listen to your boss giving presentations and conduct meetings in English. Listen to your teacher speaking in English. All of these real-life conversations will help you become a better listener and a better speaker of the language. Remember that listening as much as possible will help your speaking significantly. Imitate. Now that you have listened to lots of English conversations, it's time for some imitation. Yes, that's right. Imitating or copying someone is a wonderful way to improve your speaking skills. Not convinced? Watch babies and children. How do they learn a language? They copy everything an adult says. Another benefit of imitation is that it will help you become more accurate in English without having to learn grammar rules. With lots of practice, you will begin to remember chunks of words and phrases. This helps in remembering word patterns in a sentence and how certain words go with others. To effectively improve your speaking skills, you need to follow these steps. Listen. Pick your favorite video or audio clip from any of the sources provided in the earlier section of this article. Play the audio and listen to it carefully. Play as many times as you like to understand how each word is spoken. Repeat and record. After playing the audio, repeat saying the words and conversations exactly as you heard. Pay special attention to the intonation, stress, and rhythm of language. Record yourself while repeating the words. You could use a voice recorder on your phone or use a web service like Vocaroo. Recording will provide you an opportunity to listen to yourself and self-correct. So, do not skip this step. Compare. Listen to the audio again and compare it with your recording. Does it match? Note down changes that you may need to make. Correct. Repeat the entire process again until you get better and more accurate. As this process involves listening to the same audio clip several times, choose a topic that is interesting to you. If you stick with the routine, you will see improvement in your pronunciation, vocabulary, accuracy, and overall speaking abilities in no time. Read. That what we say may not be appropriate or we may make mistakes. We can easily fix this problem by preparing ahead. Are you going to a restaurant with your colleagues? Think of situations that require you to speak English. Order food, perhaps? Ask for changes to a dish? Ask your colleagues' preferences? Ask for the bill? What vocabulary do you need in these situations? Write up a simple list of phrases to use. Here is an example. Create similar cheat sheets for everyday situations. You will find yourself becoming more confident and ready to speak in English. If you need help, you will find many useful phrases for different situations here. Speak. Yes, speaking. There is no magic pill that would help you speak better. You must put yourself in situations where you are forced to speak in English to get better at it. Start small. Do you live or work at a place where you need to speak English to get by? Great! Take advantage of this situation by speaking to people around you. It could be at your workplace or even at a coffee shop. Doesn't matter where, as long as you can speak. If you don't have that advantage, practice speaking in English with your colleagues or classmates. It is easier if you choose someone who speaks a different language than you do, as it forces you to communicate in English. You could also consider joining an English language course to improve your range of vocabulary and speaking. You get tons of practice and a teacher to provide you with some personal feedback on your speaking skills. You will meet like-minded learners from all over the country or even another country. These days, a lot of online forums and discussion groups focus on language learning as a goal. Joining such a forum will help you practice speaking with students from different parts of the world with similar goals. Many of these groups are easy to find. Try Facebook, Reddit, or Discord. Just a word of caution, it is important to keep in mind internet safety and security. Remember, safety should be your priority. Read these online safety tips before joining a group. Practice. We cannot stress this enough. Regular and consistent practice is the key to success when it comes to speaking English. The tips and suggestions that we've described above only work if you use them regularly. So, here's what we recommend. Start small. Spend just 10 minutes every day doing 1 to 2 of the above things. Maybe listen to a short video clip today and imitate. Reflect on what you learned. Tomorrow, pick up a short article. Read aloud and summarize in your own words. Reflect on what you read and the new words. Some days you will find more time. Dedicate more time when you can, but do the minimum every single day. You will see a big change in your abilities in no time. As you improve, you'll get more confident and more ready for bigger challenges. This is the time to find speaking partners and to put yourself in situations that require speaking in English. Don't worry about making mistakes. Most people don't care if you make mistakes. Finally, don't forget to have fun. It's easier to learn something new and commit to learning when you're having fun. Try all these tips today and start your language learning journey right away.
I'm Mary. I lived in a small town surrounded by hills and trees. It was a peaceful place where everyone knew each other. People mostly spoke our native language, and we were happy. But there was something in me that wanted to see more. I dreamed of traveling, meeting new people, and doing something on my own. The problem was I didn't know English. It felt like a big barrier because I knew I needed English to travel and work in different places. One day, a traveler visited our town. They spoke English fluently and shared stories about their adventures. I was amazed and felt a spark inside me. I decided to learn English no matter how hard it seemed. I started with basic words and phrases. Every day, I practiced speaking and listening. It was tough, but I kept going. Slowly, I could understand and speak more. I felt proud of myself. My family and friends cheered me on, which gave me more strength. I found work as a tour guide, showing people around and sharing stories about my town. I also started a small business selling crafts inspired by my travels. It was hard work, but I loved it. One day, I packed my bag and left my town. It was scary but exciting. I traveled to new places, met people from different cultures, and used my English to communicate. Traveling and working in different places opened my eyes to new experiences and challenges. I faced situations where my English skills were tested, but I never gave up. Each challenge became a lesson, making me stronger and more confident. One of the most memorable experiences was when I traveled to a bustling city. It was full of tall buildings, bright lights, and people rushing everywhere. At first, I felt overwhelmed, but I remembered all the words and phrases I had learned. I asked for directions, ordered food in restaurants, and made friends with fellow travelers. Through these experiences, I learned that language is a bridge that connects people from different backgrounds. Even if we speak different languages, we can still communicate, share stories, and learn from each other. As time passed, I became fluent in English. I could have conversations about various topics, understand different accents, and express myself confidently. It opened up so many opportunities for me, both professionally and personally. I met amazing people during my travels, some of whom became lifelong friends. We shared laughter, stories, and adventures together. I also had the chance to work with people from different countries, learning about their cultures and ways of doing things. One day, I decided to visit my hometown after a long time. I was excited to see my family and friends and share all the wonderful experiences I had. They were proud of me and amazed at how far I had come. Now, I run my own travel business, helping people plan their dream vacations. I use my language skills to connect with clients from around the world, making their journeys memorable and enjoyable. Looking back at my journey, I realized that learning English wasn't just about speaking a new language. It was about unlocking doors to endless possibilities, gaining confidence, and embracing diversity. After learning English and traveling to different places, life changed a lot for me. I faced challenges in big cities and met new friends. It was scary sometimes, but I never stopped trying. Now, I have my own travel business. I help people plan their trips and show them around. I use English to talk to people from many countries, and it's amazing. Running my own travel business was a dream come true. I worked hard to make sure my clients had the best experiences, from booking flights to arranging exciting tours. One day, I received an email from a travel magazine. They wanted to feature my story in their publication. I was overjoyed and felt a sense of accomplishment. It was a reminder of how far I had come from that small-town girl with big dreams. The magazine article brought attention to my business, and soon, I had more clients than ever before. People from all over the world wanted to explore with me as their guide. I expanded my business and hired locals from my town to help with tours. It felt good to give back to my community and create job opportunities. With each trip I organized, I felt grateful for the journey that learning English had taken me on. It wasn't just about the language, it was about breaking barriers, embracing diversity, and following my passion. Years went by, and my business flourished. I traveled to even more countries, learning about different cultures and traditions. I felt like a citizen of the world, connected to people from all walks of life. I decided to start a language learning program for children. I wanted to give them the opportunity to learn English early and open doors to a world of possibilities, just like it did for me. The program was a success, and I saw the children's confidence grow as they learned new words and phrases. It was rewarding to see them excited about learning and curious about the world outside our town. I also partnered with local schools to offer English classes for adults. Many parents and grandparents joined, eager to improve their language skills and communicate better with their children and grandchildren. As the years passed, my business continued to thrive, and my language program became a staple in our community. I felt grateful for the support of my town and the opportunities that learning English had brought into my life. One day, I received an invitation to speak at a prestigious international conference. It was a chance to share my story on a global stage and inspire people from all corners of the world. Standing on that stage, surrounded by diverse faces and eager ears, I shared my journey from a small town girl with a dream to a successful entrepreneur and advocate for language learning. The response was overwhelming. People from different countries approached me, sharing their own stories and expressing gratitude for the encouragement and insights I had shared. It was a humbling experience, and I realized that my journey was not just about me, it was about connecting with others, breaking down barriers, and fostering a sense of unity and understanding across cultures. Now, as I continue to run my business and contribute to my community, I am reminded every day of the power of dreams, determination, and the ability to communicate in different languages. To anyone reading this, I say, never underestimate the impact of learning a new language. It can open doors, create opportunities, and connect you with a world of possibilities. Dream big, work hard, and believe in yourself. Your journey awaits, and it's full of endless adventures. I am a student. Every day, I go through a routine that helps me to manage my studies, my personal life, and staying healthy. My routine is like a smooth running engine that helps me stay organized and reach my goals. My day starts early. I wake up at 6 a.m., feeling refreshed and energized after a good night's sleep. The first thing I do is stretch my body and take a deep breath, preparing myself for the day ahead. Then, I get out of bed and make my bed, a simple task that helps me to start my day with a sense of accomplishment. After making my bed, I head to the bathroom to freshen up and get ready for the day. I brush my teeth, take a quick shower, and get dressed in my school uniform. As I tie my shoelaces, I mentally go through my schedule for the day, making sure I haven't forgotten anything important. I check my backpack to see if I have all my books and necessary supplies. I head downstairs to the kitchen, where my mom has already prepared a nutritious breakfast for me. I usually have a bowl of oatmeal with some fresh fruits and a glass of milk. Eating a healthy breakfast is essential for me as it gives me the energy I need to stay focused and alert throughout the day. Next, I pack my lunch and put it in my backpack. I also pack some snacks to munch on during my breaks. With my backpack on my shoulder, I bid goodbye to my family and head to school. I live close to my school, so I usually walk there. It saves money and helps me stay healthy. Walking to school is also good for the environment because it helps reduce pollution from cars. Plus, it gives me time to enjoy the fresh air and clear my mind before starting my day. Overall, walking is a simple and beneficial way to start my mornings. As I reach school, I greet my friends and make my way to the classroom. I am the type of student who likes to arrive early to class to avoid the morning rush and settle down comfortably. I take out my planner and quickly go through my timetable to see what classes I have for the day. I also use this time to review any notes or assignments that I may have missed. And if I have any questions about the upcoming lessons, I jot them down in my planner to ask my teachers later. First period is English class, and it's my favorite subject. My teacher is funny and passionate, which makes the class fun. I participate in class discussions and take notes attentively. We talk about cool books and stories, and my teacher lets us share our ideas. Sometimes, we play games to practice English. I love English class because it's where I feel creative. After English, I have math, which is not my strongest subject, but I still try my best and ask for help when needed. During math class, I pay extra attention and take thorough notes to understand the concepts better. If I have trouble with a problem, I'm not afraid to ask my teacher or classmates for assistance. I also practice math problems at home to reinforce what I've learned in class. During my break, I catch up with my friends, share snacks, and talk about the latest happenings. We also discuss our plans for the weekend and make arrangements to hang out together. After the break, I have science, followed by history. Both subjects are fascinating, and I love learning about the world around me and the events that shaped our past. When school is done, I put my stuff in my bag and go home. I say goodbye to my friends and teachers before leaving for home. After school, I might have fun things like music lessons or sports practice. When I'm done, I make my way back home to relax. It's nice to have some time to relax after a busy day at school. After I get home, I take a short break and eat a snack to get my energy back. Then, I begin doing my homework and assignments. I like to get my homework done early, so I have enough time to relax and unwind before bedtime. I start with the easier tasks first to warm up. As I work, I make sure to take breaks to stretch and relax my mind. My parents always emphasize the importance of balancing academics and personal time. and I try my best to follow their advice. After completing my homework, I have dinner with my family. We talk about our day, share interesting stories, and laugh a lot. I am grateful for my family's support and love, which keeps me motivated and happy. After dinner, I do something fun before bed. I might read, watch TV, or play games. These activities help me relax and get ready for sleep. It's a nice way to end the day before going to bed. Before going to sleep, I reflect on my day and think about my goals. I make a mental note of what I have accomplished and what I need to work on for the next day. I also think about the things I am grateful for and say a little prayer. Then, I close my eyes and drift off to sleep, ready to start a new day tomorrow. My daily routine as a student may seem normal and regular, but it's what helps me stay balanced and attentive. Each day brings opportunities for growth and learning, even in the smallest moments. By following this routine, I am able to manage my time efficiently and achieve my academic and personal goals. It may not always be easy, but it is definitely worth it as I see myself grow and improve every day. As a student, my daily routine is my secret weapon to success, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Train your mind to think in English.
Imagine this. You're trying to speak English, but the words get stuck in your head. You know what you want to say, but it feels like a tangled mess inside your brain. This struggle happens because your mind is used to thinking in your native language. It's like having a mental translator working overtime, and sometimes it just gets lost in translation. If you live in a place where most people speak the language you are learning, you may use the language for several hours each day. So, it may become part of your inner speech. In other words, you start thinking in that language. Your mind stops trying to translate things from your native language into the second language. This may be true for you. You may not have many chances to practice English. You may even be self-taught. When you speak, your speech might be slower than you would like. This is because your mind is still translating from your first language, which can also sound unnatural. English, like every other language, has its own sentence structure. The good news is that thinking in English can bring you a huge step closer to fluency. It is not very difficult, but it does take conscious effort and practice. On today's education tips, we will share some mental exercises that can help. Think in single words. Most experts note that it's best to start small. So a good first step is to think in individual words. Look around you. What do you see? In your head, try to name each object in your surroundings. Begin by learning simple words and phrases. Label things around your house in English. For example, put a note saying door on the door, table on the table, and chair on the chair. This will help you connect the English words with the objects. Try to use English during your daily activities. When you wake up, think about your day in English. For example, I will brush my teeth, eat breakfast, and go to work. This practice helps you use English naturally. Or when you are alone, practice thinking in English. Describe what you see around you. For example, the sky is blue, I see a tree, or the car is red. This simple exercise helps you get used to forming sentences in English. Charles Thomas has taught English to union members, children, and teenagers for over 10 years. He has also helped open schools in several countries. He currently works for EF International Schools in Washington, D.C. Thomas tells his students to name the things that they see around them, wherever they are. As you continue with this, it becomes more of a habit, so things are going to pop up into your head. Computer, telephone, chair, desk, whatever it is, wherever you are. Start with nouns and then add in verbs, he suggests. He says you can also do this at home when you wake up and before you go to sleep. Teacher Andrew Hinshaw also finds this exercise helpful. He has been teaching English for 12 years, including in Vietnam for the U.S. Department of State. He currently teaches at the Carlos Rosario International Public Charter School in Washington, D.C. Hinshaw remembers one method some of his Vietnamese students liked. I've had students tell me that they label everything in their room or their apartments so that these English words, kind of, stick in their heads. When I leave the house, I'm going to get an iced coffee. Then I'll take the train to class. I'm studying with Paula today. She said she booked a study room at the library for 2 p.m. Think in conversation. Now, let's move to thinking in conversation. When you do this, you are imagining yourself speaking to someone else. You are asking the questions and thinking of replies. This is a great way to practice what you might say in a real conversation. For example, let's say the imaginary person asks you a question like, "What did you think of the award show last night?" How would you answer? Imagine the conversation and practice it in your head. You can do this out loud or in silence. Training your mind to think in conversation can make speaking English easier. Start with simple talks. For example, talk about the weather or your favorite food. When someone speaks to you, listen carefully. Don't just think about what you will say next. Really listen. If you don't understand, it's okay to ask, "Can you say that again?" Or "What do you mean?" Try to think in English. Don't translate from your own language. This takes practice. Start with easy sentences. For example, if you see a dog, think, "That is a dog," instead of translating from your language. Learn common phrases like "How are you?" "What's up?" and "Nice to meet you." These are used a lot and help you sound natural. Stay relaxed and don't stress about mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. Take notes. For all of these exercises, there will of course be words and phrases that you do not know, so at some point you will need to use the dictionary. If your skill level is high enough, you might consider using an English-to-English dictionary. Hinshaw suggests writing down just 5 to 10 new words and phrases each day. Keeping a notebook, he says, helps you remember the situation that you needed that word or phrase for. This makes it easy to recall when you are in such a situation again. Practice it daily. So, how much time should you spend on these exercises? Thomas says do a little every day. So when you're doing it every day, over and over again, little by little, that's the key. Because when you make things a habit, then it just pops up into your mind without thinking, and then, before you know it really, you're thinking in English.
Why you must listen. Hi everybody, my name is Nora. Today we're going to talk about why you must listen. Let's get started. Identify objects around you in English. The first way to stop translating in your head is to identify the objects around you in your target language. So, if you're studying English, that means you look at the objects around the room and look at the objects in your life. Don't think of them in your native language first. Think of them in your target language first. So, if I look around the room, I see a computer. I shouldn't say the word in my native language, I should think of it in my target language. So, start with the items and the situations in your everyday life. If I say computer in English, maybe I should say computa in Japanese. I should say not, I don't know, water in English. I should say omizu in Japanese. So start associating the words in your target language with your everyday life now. So if you're studying English, that means start getting familiar with the things in your everyday life in English. Repeat phrases you hear native speakers use. Tip number 2 is to repeat phrases that you hear native speakers use. So if you're watching this channel, for example, or you're watching a TV show or a movie, listen for the way that native speakers make those phrases. If you hear a phrase you have never heard before, or you hear an interesting combination of words, try to repeat them yourself. Don't just listen, try to say them yourself. If you're in a public space and it's difficult to do that, fine. Practice in a place where you feel more comfortable. Maybe if you have some private space to practice, just repeat them. Get your mouth used to saying the words the way that the native speakers do. So, if you never actually say words, if you're only listening and you're not actually producing the language, it's kind of hard to practice and to really hone your pronunciation, to improve your pronunciation. So, when you listen to native speakers, try to repeat after them. For example, if you're studying English, you can try to repeat after this video. You can repeat after the things I am saying because maybe I'm using an expression or a series of vocabulary words together the way a native speaker would. It might be a good idea to try to practice the ways that native speakers put their words together. Try to repeat after native speakers, especially when you're looking at media. You can do this when you're reading books too. You can try to read out loud interesting lines of books that you find, or something that maybe is difficult for you. This is a very nice practice tip. Make a situation where you can't escape into your native language. Make a situation where you can't escape into your native language. This essentially means immersing yourself. Of course, going to that country or going to a place where you can speak only in your target language is very difficult for some, totally understandable. But if in your life you can create a situation in your library, in your room, in your house, or somewhere for just an hour, I don't know, maybe a day. If you can create a situation or an environment where you have no choice but to use that language and you cannot escape, meaning that you can't go back to using your native language as a crutch or at all, it forces you to use the language you're studying. If you are lucky enough to live in the country or the place where you speak the language that you're studying, great. But you have to go out and interact with people. You have to put yourself in a place where you have no choice but to speak. It's very hard and it's very scary and embarrassing at first. But if you take time to find places and to make environments that are comfortable for you, where you feel comfortable making mistakes and asking questions, it's very valuable for your learning process. This is actually something that I did. My Japanese wasn't very good for a long time, but then I started making friends who could not speak English. I did this just through finding hobbies. There was a hobby that I had, I joined a group, and I actually joined a school where I could learn how to do that hobby, and everything was taught only in Japanese. And the people in my class mostly spoke Japanese. Maybe we would go out for drinks and food late at night or on the weekends, and everybody only spoke Japanese. And if I couldn't communicate Even in simple Japanese, I had no hope of keeping that friendship together. So it forced me to study. It forced me to think about the words they were using and try to learn those words and patterns as well as how to produce them naturally myself. I was learning the vocabulary words the people around me were using and learning how to apply them on my own. That was only possible because I had no escape in those situations. Try to do that, even if you do it by yourself in your house. It's super helpful. Watch TV and movies in your target language without subtitles. Tip number 4 is to watch TV and movies in your target language without subtitles. I think that watching with subtitles can be very beneficial. If you're watching something or you want to watch something with titles on, great. But I sometimes find that I can, in my case, think too much about reading the subtitles and forget to listen. Maybe if you've seen a movie in your target language a few times with the subtitles on, try turning them off and think about the character's body language and the words they're using. You can always look that up later. Look up the words you don't know in a dictionary. But try to do it where you're completely focusing on the way that people are using their words, without subtitles. Kind of play around with it a little bit. If there's a word that's difficult for you to hear, you can turn on the subtitles in the native language of the movie as well. That's something that I've done when I wanted to study Japanese. It's very useful when the actual words spoken in Japanese appear on the screen. Sometimes it's easier for me to catch a word if I see it visually and I hear it at the same time. Another way to explore how you can use TV and movies is to turn on the closed caption so the words appear on the screen in the native language of the movie. This is sort of 2 points in one. Point number 1, watch movies without subtitles in your native language. And point 2 is to watch movies with closed captioning on, but in your target language, not in your native language. So you can try those 2 things with TV and with movies. Don't bring a dictionary to your lesson. Tip number 5 is don't bring a dictionary to your lesson. Okay, so give me a second here. I understand that dictionaries, especially electronic ones, are very convenient and we all have them on our phones now. Of course, it's important to use them and they're a great resource to have. However, one thing that really bothers me and I think is detrimental and not helpful for students is when students in a lesson are practicing conversation and they reach a point in the conversation where they don't know the word that they want to use. They know it in their native language and they don't know how to say it in their target language. So they pull out the dictionary. They say to the person listening to them, their practice partner, in their lesson where they have a limited period of time, just a moment, and then they look it up on their phone. It takes time. The flow of the conversation stops and then they say a word. It's like, whoa, no, you don't have that ability. You don't have the ability to do that in conversation with a native speaker. Most people, like if you go to a bank and try to open an account, are not going to pull out a dictionary and sit there and try to communicate as you look up each word. Or if you do, that's not a real conversation. So instead, try using a different strategy. By that, I mean if you find a word you don't know in conversation, explain the word to your conversation partner. Maybe they know the word. If you're speaking with a native speaker, this is a chance for them to teach you a word. I find that when people take the time to teach me a word, I remember the word much better than just looking it up on my dictionary. So try to resist this. Maybe you can bring a dictionary to your lesson, but try not to use it in conversation practice. It destroys the flow of the conversation. Instead, practice the skill of describing the vocabulary word you want to use and learn how to ask the meaning of a word. You can use an expression like, what's that word that means blah, blah, blah? Or, it's this thing that does this and this. This is an opportunity for you to describe characteristics of something in a different way. You can use body language. You have a lot of tools, but try not to use a dictionary in a conversation because it's not realistic. Train responses to common questions. Number 6 is a quick one. This is to train responses to common questions. For example, a very common question in English is, "Hey, how are you?" You should know how to answer this question. Just have a default response. "Hey, how are you?" "I'm good." If it takes you a long time to answer the question, "Hey, how are you?" you need to practice. I think that's a pretty good indicator. For example, sometimes I ask students a question they haven't quite gotten the idea of how to respond to yet, and they're not quick at responding. I say, "Hey, how are you?" and they say yes. And then they think and say, "I'm good." That's a very common question. So think about having a default response that you can just spit out and that you can quickly say. If it's, "How was your weekend?" or "Hey, what's up?" or "What do you want to do for dinner tonight?" Think about just a handful, just a few responses to those questions, and train them in your mind quickly. How are you? I'm good. I'm okay. Not bad. Those are 3. It's about training responses to those questions, so there's no reason to be surprised by a question like, "How are you?" which is very common. For common questions, train yourself to remember responses. We've got a bunch of videos, especially beginner-level videos, for some example responses you can use. Don't get stuck with these little questions. Just remember a few responses. Practice them till they feel natural to you. It will save you time, and it will help the person asking the question to move forward in the conversation. Study with materials that don't provide a translation. The next tip is to study with materials that don't provide a translation. By this, I mean that if you're using worksheets or some kind of textbook and it has your target language, the language you're studying, with your native language next to it, while this can be useful, I feel that if you can, study your materials only in your target language and have simplified explanations for more detailed points in your target language as well. I don't want to say you should only study things in your target language and nothing from your native language, because of course it can be helpful sometimes to look up a word or to understand the grammar point in your native language. But where possible, if you can find something that provides a simplified explanation in your target language, it can be really, really helpful because again, you're learning to think on a simpler and more basic level about the language you're studying in that language. This can be really, really helpful. Find some materials to use that don't provide a translation. Maybe you can practice with books and written materials, but also video materials as well. There are a variety of different ways that you can find materials in your target language, like TV and on the internet. These are some things to think about, such as the level of vocabulary words people are using in the media content you're watching, who the media content is intended for, if it's children, young adults, or adults, the speed at which the speaker is talking as well. For example, I have the ability to change the level of difficulty of videos based on the rate of speech, the vocabulary words that I use, and how many idioms I use. I could make a video very difficult. We could make a very difficult video series by leveling up our vocabulary use or by speaking very quickly. Study phrases in addition to individual vocabulary words. The next tip is to study phrases in addition to individual vocabulary words. So yes, of course, vocabulary is important, but I personally find it very useful to look at how a vocabulary word is used in a phrase, because sometimes using it in a phrase helps you understand the nuance of that vocabulary word well. For example, a word like crazy in English. Depending on the situation where the word crazy is used, it could mean something different. It could mean a person who is confused or mixed up. It could also mean something really good. It could mean something very bad as well. If we look at the word crazy, it's quite difficult to understand the meaning of the word until you look at how it is used in a phrase so that you can get more information. So take a look at the way people use words and phrases, not just a single vocabulary word. You can learn a lot more that way. Do your daily activities in English where possible. The next tip is to do your daily activities in your target language. If you're studying English, that means try to do some daily activities in English. This could be very, very boring stuff, but just think about it when you're doing the activity. For example, right now, I am filming a video for interesting stories for English fluency. I could say something like, I'm going to work, I'm cooking breakfast, I'm doing the laundry, what do I have to do tomorrow? Try thinking about your everyday life in English if you're studying English. Try thinking about your everyday activities, the people that you meet, what you're doing. This can help you practice your verbs. If you're doing something at work, try to describe what you're doing. For example, I want to blank a picture. What's that word? You can check a dictionary at that point and say, oh, it's draw. I need to use the verb draw for drawing a picture. You can find these little gaps in your everyday life, little gaps in your knowledge when you think about your everyday activities in your target language. If you don't think about it in your target language, you might not realize you have vocabulary gaps or phrase gaps here and there. So this is a very good and kind of funny way to study. Use a learner's dictionary for new words. The last tip is to use a learner's dictionary for new words. In English, there are learner's dictionaries available. If you find a word that you don't recognize, you can check it in a learner's dictionary and it gives you a simplified explanation of the word in English. Instead of checking it in your native language, check it in your target language. Again, this helps you to understand the word that you're focused on, but from the language that you're studying, not in your native language. Using a learner's dictionary can be very useful. Alright, so those are 10 tips to help you stop translating in your head. I know it can be difficult and it takes time and practice, but I hope that these are a few strategies that can help you as you study any language. Of course, this is an English language channel, but I think these tips are pretty good for learning just about any language. I really hope these are useful for you. If you have tried these strategies or if you have any other comments or tips, please let us know in the comments section below this video. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Interesting Stories for English Fluency, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!
Ways to learn English through stories. How can I improve my English reading skills? How can I improve my English? Storytelling is the root of all communication. So it makes sense that one of the best ways to learn a language is through stories, whether you're reading, watching, telling, or listening to them. In this article, we'll share some benefits of learning English through stories, as well as some methods and tips to help you get as much as possible out of the stories you take in. An introduction on how to learn English through stories. Have you ever read a book that you just couldn't put down? Or seen a movie that made you cry alongside the protagonist? We've all been there. A compelling story can cause the reader, viewer, or listener to completely immerse themselves in the character's life and experience their highs and lows as if they were their own. That's why, when you're listening to an engaging story in a foreign language, it can almost feel like you're experiencing the language and culture firsthand, rather than from the outside looking in. Because learning another language through stories is so immersive, many students find that studying in this way is much more enjoyable and effective than other methods of learning. How to learn English by stories. You can either kick back and relax while enjoying an English story or be more proactive and challenge yourself to get the most out of the story with one of these popular study methods. Though you can learn a lot by trying out these methods on your own, joining an English language program will help take your skills to the next level and become fluent more quickly. 3-3 Storytelling Method. The 3-3 method for learning English through stories is a simple way to improve your language skills. First, you choose a short story in English. Then you read the story 3 times. The first time, you read it to understand the general idea. The second time, you read it to understand more details and new words. The third time, you read it to practice speaking and pronunciation. After that, you tell the story in your own words 3 times. The first time, you tell it simply. The second time, you add more details. The third time, you try to make it sound natural and smooth. This method helps you understand, remember, and speak English better. TPR Storytelling Method. The TPR method, or total physical response, is a fun way to learn English through stories. In this method, You listen to a story in English and act out the actions in the story with your body. For example, if the story says, "The boy runs," you pretend to run. This helps you connect words with actions, making it easier to remember them. You can do this alone or with friends. It makes learning English more exciting and helps you understand and remember new words better because you are using your whole body to learn. Listen to a short story. Try to find a story that is at the right level for your English skills, but has some new words that you don't understand, so that you can challenge yourself a bit. Simply listen to the story a few times, without any subtitles or visual cues, and focus on how it sounds. Next, look up and memorize some vocabulary words and phrases from that story. Listen to the same short story again, still without any subtitles or visual cues. Now listen to the story once again, but this time with subtitles or words that you can read while you listen. Repeat this step a few times. For both of these methods, you must first find a good story to practice and study with. So let's take a closer look at what makes a good English learning story. How to find effective English learning stories. One good thing about learning English is that you will have endless stories to choose from to help you study. First of all, it can be helpful to choose a story that you're already familiar with. If you know what the story is about and understand the plot beforehand, it will be much easier to follow along with what's going on. That way, you can pay more attention to the dialogue and learn new vocabulary as you listen, watch, or read. A good example of this would be a book or movie like Harry Potter, one that has been translated into many different languages and is recognized by people around the world. Try to find a story that matches your level of English, and start with more simple stories. Ideally, find a story where you can understand around 70% of the vocabulary. If you're just starting out learning English, it's probably better to go with a short story instead of a long, complex novel. Children's movies or books can also be a good option for beginners. You can check out rankings online that compare the vocabulary of different movies for ideas. Perhaps most importantly, choose a story that interests and excites you. A boring story or one that you can't relate to will be much less compelling and motivating. If you can't wait to turn the page and find out what happens next, you will learn at a much faster rate. Benefits of learning through story. There are so many benefits of learning English through stories, including the following. It's more enjoyable and entertaining than other methods. Would you rather complete grammar exercises in a textbook for 2 hours or watch a thrilling movie about a topic that you love? Both are important, of course, but the latter is probably more fun and engaging. Stories are less intimidating for beginners. There are stories for every English level, so you can easily find one that suits you. It can be stressful for beginners to speak, so listening to or reading stories is a great way to learn until you gain more confidence and are ready to try your skills in a real-world setting. You can expand your vocabulary quickly. There are English stories available in every possible genre, covering so many different topics. You can watch a movie about space and learn tons of unique vocabulary, and then read a story about a chef and expand your vocabulary in a totally different direction. You'll have more context for grammar and vocabulary, rather than just studying individual words to learn vocabulary. Stories provide you with context clues so that you can make educated guesses about what words mean and learn how to use them naturally. You will feel more motivated to keep studying when you're in the middle of a riveting story. You won't want to stop reading or watching. There are unlimited resources available. As previously mentioned, there are countless movies, books, articles, and other stories to choose from, especially if you're learning English. For example, one study found that 81.4% of modern movies featured English as one of their main languages. You can learn about the culture behind the language. In addition to learning a new language, stories allow you to dive into the culture of a region where that language is spoken. Stories are very powerful mnemonic devices. This means they can help you remember things that you are trying to learn, such as new vocabulary terms. Why is making mistakes important when learning a language? Why is making mistakes important when you are learning a foreign language? Today I'm delighted to make a video that discusses how you can embrace language mistakes and start speaking the language you're learning. If you struggle to find the confidence to speak, this video is for you. Errors and mistakes in language learning are inevitable when speaking. It's unavoidable that you'll make them, loads of them. Grammar mistakes, mixing up vocabulary, stylistic errors, you name it. Adults often feel embarrassed by the silly mistakes they make, the kind of mistakes even children who are native speakers don't make. My most embarrassing language learning mistake ever. Let's start with a little story about the most embarrassing language mistake I think I've ever made. The kind of mistake that makes you want to run away, bury your head under a cushion and just hide away from the world. If you want to get fluent in a new language fast and get comfortable with making mistakes, then using the right method is key. So anyway, the year was 2001. I had just moved to Paris. I had got myself a job in a cool little youth hostel village in the beautiful Montmartre district in the north of Paris, and I was working the graveyard shift behind reception. One night there were these two French guys staying at the hostel who came up to me at reception and asked for some blankets. Strange, I thought. Maybe it's cold in the room. Unfortunately, when they asked me for the blankets, I was busy serving another customer who had just arrived. So I said, sure, just give me a few minutes. The customer took a while, and a few minutes later the same guys came back and asked for blankets again. What's the rush? I thought. Take it easy. So I kept serving the customer, as I should, and the two French guys started to look very annoyed. After about 5 minutes or so, I finished up with the customer and went off to get the blankets from the storeroom. I took the blankets over to where the French guys were sitting and said, Voilà vos couvertures. Here are your blankets. There was a silence. They both turned and looked at me with a look of death on their faces. Non, pas des couvertures. Des couverts. We don't want blankets, they said. We want cutlery. Cutlery. Turns out they had finished cooking some pasta, which by now was stone cold, for their evening meal, when they couldn't find the cutlery in the kitchen. Just so happens that cutlery and blankets in French sound pretty similar. I apologized as profusely as I possibly could, and quickly grabbed them their cutlery from the drawer that was, ironically, right next to them, as my face began to turn the brightest possible shade of scarlet. But the interesting thing is that I still remember the French words for blankets and cutlery almost 20 years later, despite having never needed them since, with crystal clarity. Of course, once you've made one bad mistake, you think twice before opening your mouth and embarrassing yourself again. But with this attitude, what happens? You just think and think and think, and don't open your mouth at all, retreating inside yourself, thinking too much and not sticking out in case you embarrass yourself by making a silly mistake is in itself the biggest mistake you can make. The great psychologist Lev Vygotsky believed that people learn by doing, and I agree with him. Mistakes and learning go hand in hand, and mistakes are part of the game. The problem is that many people know this but still find it difficult to overcome their fear and start using the language. Maybe you feel that way too? Don't worry. Here are some actionable tactics to help you to beat your paralyzing fear of making mistakes and get started speaking. Drop your ego to stop getting embarrassed by mistakes. Ego is a heavy weight that you don't need on your language learning journey. Even if you are the CEO of a big successful company, when speaking a foreign language you are just another foreigner who is bound to make mistakes, and that's okay. It's perfectly normal. When you speak with people, you can start by letting them know that you don't speak perfectly. Smile. Apologize and say that you're a foreigner and that although you try your best, your English or French or Spanish or German, etc. is not perfect. People will understand and appreciate that you are making an effort to speak their language even if you do make mistakes. Don't compare yourself to others. Again, there's no place for ego in language learning. Yes, maybe you know people who speak your target language much better than you, and that's okay. Don't compare yourself to native speakers or more advanced learners. The person you're comparing yourself to might have been studying the language for a few years already to get to that level, so don't expect to be there yourself after only a couple of months. Each person will have their own unique language journey based on their own personality and circumstances. Some people are extroverts and speaking is natural to them, while others are much better with listening. Some people have a great musical ear and picking up the pronunciation of a foreign language is a piece of cake for them, while others really struggle with the subtleties of pronunciation. Some people thrive studying in a group and find time to attend courses in person, while others prefer to take one-to-one Skype lessons or study on their own. Choose a suitable path for your learning style. Find out what fits into your daily life, then stick with it no matter what others are doing. It doesn't mean you cannot follow the example of others and borrow some ideas from them if you like them, but don't waste time comparing yourself to others. Don't feel that you are any worse off than someone else, make more mistakes or are less able to master a foreign language in general. You are not them and your life is not theirs. And after all, there are people who don't speak any foreign languages at all, so by learning one, you're already ahead of the game. Talk to yourself in your target language to normalize mistakes. A great way to build confidence and become comfortable speaking your new language is to start by speaking to yourself. Whether you're cooking your dinner, driving to work, or even taking a bath, it doesn't matter. You can practice speaking on your own anytime. Imagine you're talking to your annoying sister, an inconsiderate friend, or self-centered boss. Talking to yourself is a great way to start overcoming your fear of speaking because you can make mistakes without feeling embarrassed. Speak with yourself when you have a tough decision to make. Explore the pros and cons of different scenarios. Speak with yourself about your dreams and aspirations, your fears and concerns. Speak with yourself when you're just bored and feel like speaking. Your monologues will be great training for your dialogues with other people. You'll get used to the imperfection of real speech and the fact that making mistakes is totally normal and you struggle to find words sometimes. You'll get used to the imperfection of real speech and the fact that you do make mistakes and struggle to find words sometimes. Embrace the learning through mistakes theory. In order to overcome your fear of speaking, you need to understand your mistakes and tackle them effectively. Mistakes are usually made in one of the following two cases. You make mistakes because you don't know something. You make mistakes because you forget something that you do know. In the first case, the solution is obvious. You need to identify what it is exactly that you don't know and learn it. Your mistake could be a grammar structure you haven't yet studied, a word you're not sure how to use, a word you don't have in your vocabulary, a sound you mispronounce because you don't know how to produce it correctly. Grab your textbook, check your dictionary, or just Google the problem. If you study with a teacher, they'll be able to help you identify the gaps in your knowledge and suggest how to fix them. In the second case, where you forget things that you already know, more practice is what will put things right for you. Thank you for watching the video. I hope it was useful for you.
Hello, my name is Sophia. I am a student from Italy. I have come to London to learn English. London is a big city. It's full of history and beautiful places. I am excited to be here. I want to share my story with you. It is a sunny day in summer. The sun shines brightly in the sky. The air is warm. It is a perfect day. I am on a train going through London. The train moves fast. It makes a loud noise as it goes. I see tall buildings and green parks. London is very beautiful. On the train, there are two men sitting opposite me. They are talking to each other. They speak in English. I listen to them. I try to understand what they are saying. I know some English words, but it is hard to understand everything. I am still learning. I am still a beginner. I think to myself, I want to speak English well. I look at the men. I want to talk to them. I am a little scared, but I want to try. I take a deep breath. I smile at the men. I say, "Hello, my name is Sophia." My voice is a little quiet, but the men hear me. They stop talking and look at me. They smile back. "Hello, Sophia," one of the men says. I feel happy. I am speaking English. I want to tell them more about me. I say, "I am from Italy." The men nod. They understand me. This makes me feel good. I try to think of more words to say. It is hard. I only know simple English. The men are very nice. They slowly for me. They use easy words. I start to understand more of what they are saying. We talk a little about London. We talk about the weather. It is a nice conversation. I am learning. Soon, the train stops at a station. This is where I get off. I stand up. I say goodbye to the men. "Goodbye, Sophia," they say. I leave the train. I feel proud of myself. I spoke English today. I walk through the streets of London. There are so many people. They all speak English. I listen to them as I walk. I try to understand the words. I am learning new words all the time. I am going to my English school. I will learn more English there. My teacher is very good. She helps me a lot. I am excited to learn more. I want to speak English very well. As I walk, I think about my adventure in London. I am here to learn English. It is a big challenge, but I am ready. I will work hard. I will learn new words every day. I am happy to be here. London is a wonderful city. There are so many things to see and do. I will explore the city. I will practice my English every day. I know it would be a great adventure. This is just the beginning of my story. There is so much more to come. I will meet new friends. I will learn many things. I am excited for what the future holds. The next morning, I wake up early. The sun is shining through my window. I feel excited and a little nervous. Today is the first day of my English classes. I have been waiting for this day since I arrived in London. I get ready quickly. I wear my favorite blue jeans and a white t-shirt. I want to make a good impression. I eat breakfast. I have toast and tea. It is a simple breakfast, but it is good. I leave my apartment. I walk to the English school. The school is not far from where I live. I walk fast. I do not want to be late. I arrive at the school. The school is a big building. It has many windows. There are flowers outside. The school looks nice. I go inside. The inside of the school is bright and clean. There are many classrooms. I see other students. They are talking and laughing. They seem happy. I feel a little less nervous. I go to my classroom. The classroom is large. There are many desks and chairs. There is a big whiteboard at the front of the room. There are posters on the walls. The posters have pictures and English words. I look at the posters. I learn new words. My teacher come to the room. Her name is Miss Brown. She has tall and curly hair. She smiles at us. She looks friendly. "Good morning, everyone," she says. Her voice is clear and kind. We all say, "Good morning, Miss Brown." We speak in English. It is good practice. Miss Brown tell us the class. She says we will learn many things. We will learn new words. We will practice speaking and listening. We will read and write in English. I listen carefully. I want to learn everything. We start the lesson. Miss Brown teaches us about greetings. Greetings are the way to say hello and goodbye. We practice saying, "Hello, how are you? I am fine, thank you." We say these phrases to each other. It is fun. We laugh when we make mistakes, but it is okay. We are learning. After greetings, we learn about numbers. Miss Brown writes numbers on the whiteboard. She says each number. We repeat after her. 1, 2, 3. We go all the way to 20. I feel proud. I am learning English. The morning goes by quickly. We learn a lot. Miss Brown is a good teacher. She helps us when we make mistakes. She is patient. It is time for lunch. We all go to the cafeteria. The cafeteria is big. There are many tables and chairs. There is a lot of food. I see sandwiches, salads, and fruits. I choose a chicken sandwich and an apple. I pay for my food. I say thank you to the lady at the counter. She smiles. I am using my English. I find a table. I sit with some of my classmates. We eat our lunch. We try to talk in English. It is hard, but we help each other. We laugh a lot. I make new friends. Their names are Anna and Marco. Anna is from Spain. Marco is from Brazil. We are all here to learn English. After lunch we have more lessons. We learn about colors. Miss Brown shows us cards with different colors. Red, blue, yellow. We say, we learn the name of all colors. It is interesting. The day ends. I am tired but happy. I learned so much. I say goodbye to Miss Brown and to my new friends. Goodbye. See you tomorrow, I say. I feel good. I spoke English today. I walk home. I think about my day. I am happy to be learning English. I know it will be hard, but I am ready. I will work hard. I will learn more every day. I am excited for what comes next. This is just the beginning of my journey. I have so more to learn, but I am not afraid. I am in London. I am learning English. I am living my dream. On Saturday, I do not have English class. I decide to explore London. London is a big city. There is many things to see. I am excited to see famous places. I also want to practice my English. I make a plan. I will visit Buckingham Palace first, then I will go to the London Eye. It is a big wheel. You can see all of the London from the top. It sounds amazing. I take a bus to Buckingham Palace. The bus is red. It is a famous London bus. I sit at the top. I can see the streets and buildings. It is fun. I arrive at Buckingham Palace. It is very big. It is where the Queen lives. There are many tourists. They take photos. I take photos too. I hear people speaking English. I listen to them. I learn new words. I see a group of tourists with a guide. The guide speaks English. He talks about the palace. He talks about the history. I join the group. I listen carefully. I understand some words. I am happy. I am learning. After Buckingham Palace, I go to the London Eye. I walk there. The streets of London are busy. There are many people from all over the world. I hear many languages, but I try to listen to English. I arrive at the London Eye. It is very big. It is next to the river. The river is called the Thames. It is a famous river in London. I buy a ticket for the London Eye. I say, "1 ticket please," in English. The lady understands me. I feel proud. I am using my English. I get on the London Eye. It moves slowly. It goes up and up. I can see all of the London. I can see the river, the bridges, and the buildings. It is beautiful. I take many photos on the London Eye. I meet a family. They are from Australia. They speak English. We talk a little. I tell them I am learning English. They are nice. They speak slowly for me. I understand more. The ride on the London Eye ends. I say goodbye to the family. Goodbye. Nice to meet you, I say. They say goodbye too. I feel happy. I made new friends. I spoke English. I am hungry. I find a small cafe. It is near the London Eye. I go inside. I look at the menu. I decide to order a sandwich and tea. I go to the counter. I say I would like a chicken sandwich and tea, please. The person at the counter smiles. They gave me my food. I say, thank you. I am using my English. I sit and eat my sandwich. It is delicious. The tea is good too. I think about my day. I saw famous places. I practice my English. I am learning and exploring. After my meal, I decide to go home. I am tired but happy. I walk to the bus stop. I take the bus home. I look out the window. I see the city. London is beautiful. I get home. I am very tired, but I am also very happy. I had a great day. I explored London. I practice my English. I can't wait for my next adventure. This is just one of my days in London. There are many more to come. I will see many places. I will learn more English. I am excited for what the future holds. One Saturday morning, I see a poster. The poster is in a shop window. It talks about a community event. The event is in a park in London. There will be music, games, and foods. It sounds fun. I decide to go. I want to meet new people. I want to practice my English. I arrive at the park. The park is full of people. There are families, children, and dogs. Everyone seems happy. I hear music. I smell food. I feel excited. I walk around the park. I see different stalls. Some stalls sell food. Some stalls have games. There are also stalls for the art and crafts. I see a stall for face painting. Children are getting their faces painted. They look like animals and superheroes. It is very colorful. I hear people speaking English. I try to listen. I want to understand. I hear a lady talking about her stall. She sells handmade jewelry. The jewelry is beautiful. I go to her stall. I look at the necklaces and bracelets. The lady sees me. She smiles. Hello, she says. Do you like anything? She speaks slowly. I understand her. I feel happy. I look at the bracelet. It is blue and green. It is very pretty. I say, I like this one. How much is it? I speak in English. I am a little nervous, but I want to try. The lady tell me the price. I understand her. I decide to buy the bracelet. I gave her the money. She gives me the bracelet. I say thank you. She says, you are welcome. Enjoy the event. I walk more. I see a game stall. The game is to throw rings over bottles. If you get a ring over a bottle, you win a prize. It looks fun. I decide to try. I go to the game stall. I say, I want to try this game. The man at the stall gives me some rings. I throw the rings. It is hard, but on my last try, I get a ring over a bottle. I win. The man gives me a small stuffed. It is a teddy bear. It is cute. I say thank you. I am happy. I won a prize. I spoke English. I feel more confident. I talk to more people. I ask them about the food. I ask them about the games. I listen to their stories. Everyone is friendly. They speak slowly for me to understand more and more. I spend whole day at the event. I listen to music. I eat some food. I try different games. I talk to many people. I practice my English a lot. As the day ends, I feel tired but very happy. I met new friends. I learned new words. I practice speaking English. It was a great day. I go home. I think about the day. I learned that speaking English is not just in the classroom. It is everywhere. It is in the park, at the stalls, and with new friends. I am excited for more adventures. I want to learn more. I want to speak better. I know I will. Every day is a chance to learn. Every day is a chance to speak English. The day at the community event was special. It was more than fun. It was a day of learning. It was a day of growing. I will remember this day. I look forward to more days like this. A few weeks after the community event, I hear about an English-speaking club. This club meets every week. People from different countries come together. They all want to improve English. I think this is a great opportunity for me. I decide to join the club. The first meeting is on a Thursday evening. The club meets in a small cafe in the city. The cafe is cozy and welcoming. There are books on shelves and painting on the walls. It feels like a good place to learn. I am nervous as I walk to the cafe. I worry about the speaking English with strangers, but I remind myself that everyone is there to learn, just like me. I arrive at the cafe. I see a group of people sitting around a large table. They are talking and laughing. They seem friendly. I take a deep breath and walk over to them. A woman sees me and smiles. She stands up and comes over to me. "Hello," she says. "Are you here for the English-speaking club?" Her voice is warm and welcoming. "Yes, I am," I reply. My voice shakes a little, but I am proud of myself for answering. "Great, I am Anna. I organize the club meetings. Come join us," she says and leads me to the table. Everyone greets me with smiles and hellos. I feel a bit more relaxed. Anna introduces me to the group. She tells them my name and where I am from. I wave and say, "Hi, I am Sophia. Nice to meet you all." They all nod and smile. Some of them introduce themselves too. There are people from France, Brazil, Japan, and many other countries. It is like a small world in one room. The club meeting starts. Anna suggests a topic for evening. The topic is favorite places in London. One by one, people start talking about their favorite places and why they like them. They talk about parks, museum, and historic sites. Some speak fluently while others search for words, but everyone listens patiently. When it's my turn, I feel my heart beating fast, but I remember what I want to say. I talk about the London Eye, the view from the top, and how beautiful London looks. I make some mistakes, but people nod and smile. They encourage me. I feel a sense of achievement. After the discussion, we play some English language games. We play a game where we have to describe a word without saying it, and others have to guess the word. It's challenging but fun. I laugh a lot. I also learn new words. As the meeting ends, I feel happy and proud. I spoke English with many people. I understood a lot. I also made some friends. Anna says, "You did great, Sophia. We are happy you joined us." I thank Anna and the others. I say goodbye and promise to come back next week. As I walk home, I think about the meeting, realize that speaking English is not just about knowing the words. It's about connecting with people, sharing stories, and learning from each other. I look forward to the next meeting. I know it will be another chance to improve my English, but more than that, it's a chance to be part of a community, to laugh, and to grow together. This experience at the English Speaking Club is an important part of my journey. It shows that learning can happen everywhere, not just in a classroom, and every conversation, every new word, and every new friend brings me closer to my goal of speaking English fluently. A month after joining the English Speaking Club, I learned about a cultural festival happening in London. The festival celebrates the diverse cultures that make up the vibrant city. There will be music, dance, food, and workshops from around the world. I mark the date on my calendar. I am excited to experience this event. On the day of the festival, the weather is perfect. The sun is shining, and there's a gentle breeze. I take the bus to the festival location, which is in a large park in the heart of London. As I approach, I can hear music and see colorful decorations. The park is transformed into a global village. There are stalls representing different countries. Each stall has its unique decoration, music, and aroma. I feel like I am traveling the world just by walking through the park. My first stop is at a stall representing Italy, my home country. The stall is decorated with Italian flags, and there is a small replica of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. They are serving traditional Italian foods like pizza, pasta, and gelato. Speaking Italian with the people at the stall feels comforting, but I remind myself that today's goal is to practice English. Next, I visit a stall representing India. The colors are vibrant, and the smell of spices is enticing. A friendly woman dressed in a beautiful sari greets me. "Welcome," she says in English with a warm smile. I greet her back and ask about the different dishes on display. She explains each dish to me, and I carefully listen, picking up new words like biryani and samosa. I decide to try a samosa, and it's delicious. As I continue to explore, I find a stage where performances are happening. There are traditional dances from countries like Spain, China, and Brazil. I am amazed by the variety and beauty of these performances. I clap and cheer along with the crowd, feeling a part of this global community. I then join a workshop African drumming. The workshop is conducted in English, and the instructor is patient and clear in his instructions. I learn about the different drums and rhythms. Playing the drums in a group is exhilarating, and I managed to follow along without much difficulty. After the workshop, I thank the instructor in English. Feeling proud of myself for participating and understanding the instructions, throughout the day, I speak English with many people. I ask questions about their cultures, share stories about Italy, and exchange smiles and laughter. I realize that language is more than just words. It's about connection and understanding. As the festival comes to an end, I feel a sense of fulfillment. I experience so many cultures today and practice English in a natural setting. I feel more confident in my ability to communicate and connect with people from all over the world. On my way home, I reflect on my day. I feel grateful for the opportunity to live in such a diverse city like London, where I can experience the world in one place. Today was not just about practicing English, it was about celebrating diversity, learning about other cultures, and making new friends. It was a reminder that language learning is a journey that goes beyond textbooks and classrooms. It's about engaging with the world around us. This cultural festival was a highlight of my time in London. It showed me the beauty of diversity and the power of language to bring people together. I look forward to more experiences like this, where I can grow and connect with the world through English. A few weeks after the cultural festival, I receive an invitation from Anna, the organizer of the English-speaking club. She invites me to a traditional English tea party she's hosting at her home. The idea of the tea party sounds very English, and I am thrilled to be included. On the day of the tea party, I dress carefully, choosing a nice dress and a light jacket. I want to make sure I respect the tradition. I bring a small box of Italian biscuits as a gift for Anna. It's a piece of my home country to share with my friends in London. Anna's house is in a charming part of London, with rows of beautiful old houses. I ring the doorbell, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Anna opens the door with a big smile. "Sophia, welcome," she exclaims, ushering me inside. Her house is beautifully decorated with floral arrangements and vintage china. The table is set with an array of teacups, saucers, and plates, each piece delicately designed. There are different types of tea, sandwiches with the crusts cut off, scones with clotted cream and jam, and a variety of pastries. The guests are a mix of people from English-speaking club and some of Anna's friends. Everyone is dressed nicely, and the atmosphere is cheerful yet refined. I greet the guests, practicing my English greetings and small talk. Lovely to meet you. What a beautiful home. The tea looks wonderful. I am using phrases I've learned in class and conversations with friends. Anna explains the history of the English tea tradition as she pours tea for us. She speaks clearly, so I can understand most of what she's saying. I learned that afternoon tea became popular in England in the 1840s, thanks Anna, the Duchess of Bedford. It started as a small snack to bridge the gap between lunch and dinner but soon became a social event. We talked about our favorite types of tea and share stories from our own cultures. I talk about Italian coffee culture and how it compares to English tradition. I am nervous about making mistakes, but everyone is kind and patient. They are interested in hearing about Italy. I feel proud to share a part of my culture with them as we enjoy the tea and treats. I listen to the conversations around me. I pick up new vocabulary related to tea and British customs, words like Earl Grey, Darjeeling, scones and petit fours to my growing English vocabulary. After tea, we move to the library room for more casual conversations. I find myself chatting with a few guests about our experiences in London. I am surprised by how much I am able to understand and contribute to the convention. My confidence in speaking English grows with each words.